Yo, what's happening, guys? Welcome to the channel. This is Living in Alberta, and today we are going to look at living in Edmonton versus Calgary. Everything you need to know before moving to Alberta. Hey guys, what's up? My name is Kyle. Welcome to the channel. If you've been here before, welcome back. On this channel, we break down everything when it comes to moving to or living in Alberta. So if you do want to see more videos like this one, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Definitely click that notification bell. And if you would like any help with the real estate needs, we have a team that covers the entire area from Edmonton all the way down to Calgary. And I'm also a licensed realtor. I should probably add that. So use this information showing up on the screen right now, guys. Get a hold of me any way, know how. Would love to hear from you. All right, with that being said, let's get right into the video. Sitting here the other day and I realized that when you have a YouTube channel called Living in Alberta, you cannot get away with not doing a video of Edmonton versus Calgary.
You should know that.
We have a massive rivalry here in our province between the two cities.
You and your mom are hillbillies. This is a house of learned doctors. You're not a doctor. You're a big, fat, curly-headed fuck.
I think that most of that stems from the Oilers and the Flames, especially right now. The playoffs are in full swing. Oilers are up 2-1. Calgary lost last night, which is awesome. The Shames usually choke every year in the playoffs, so it's not surprising anyways.
Shame, 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 shame.
But we have a massive rivalry, and the hockey teams are a huge part of that. So let's get into it. Let's talk about a little bit of comparison between the two cities. Kind of what kind of people live there, what to expect, and maybe you can make a better, more informed decision, if you don't know which city you want to live in yet. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at the first one. Let's talk about the people and the culture in both cities. Now I'm going to start this off with an analogy that a buddy told me a long time ago, and I think it's absolutely perfect. I 100% agree with it. He told me that if Edmonton had a spirit band and Calgary had a spirit band, Edmonton's would be AC/DC, more of a hard rockin', hard working kind of town. And if Calgary had a spirit band, it would be the Eagles, a little more clean, a little more corporate, a little more friendly kind of town. And I absolutely agree with that. Now, here's one thing that I don't agree with though. A lot of the times you'll hear people say, or you read online, that Edmonton is a much more friendlier city than Calgary. And that hasn't been my experience at all. I don't find that absolutely at all. They're both in Alberta. Alberta is known for its friendly people.
What are you doing? Stop being so friendly.
I think that because Calgary is more of a white-collar city, or is a white-collar city, I think people automatically label people who are in the white-collar industry as being a little more stuck up or pretentious, which I think is bullshit. I mean, you can find assholes in whatever.
You're really acting like an asshole.
What did you say? What did you just say?
Trade you're in the government industry, or whether you're a doctor or an engineer. So it's not fair to label people just because of what they do. And this is just my opinion, obviously, but both cities have super friendly people. Now, to me, having lived downtown on Jasper Ave in Edmonton kind of has more of a grungy, kind of artsy, liberal kind of feel, where there's that combination of hipsters, but there's still a lot of jacked up pickup trucks. Calgary feels a little more slick, a little more suave. It's 100% more white collar than Edmonton. Edmonton is definitely more blue collar. Now, if you're looking for a busier downtown scene, I do think that Calgary wins out on that one. I feel like there's a lot more things to do. It just gives off a busier vibe. However, compared to like Toronto and Vancouver, it's still not very busy a lot of the times, especially during the pandemic in the wintertime. Calgary's downtown will empty out after work, but they do have some cool things down there. I mean, Stephen Avenue, it's a pedestrian walkway or pedestrian avenue, has tons of cool restaurants, bars, and shops. There's a lot of restaurants and things to do in downtown Calgary. There's some cool parks and walking trails along the Bow River. So if you are looking for that busier downtown scene, I think, in my opinion, Calgary definitely wins in that scenario. However, and again, this is just my opinion and opinion of a lot of other people as well, Edmonton has a few more things to do, I think. It has a little bit more culture to it. The argument is that because Calgary is so close to the mountains, a lot of the times on weekends, Calgary, they're off playing in the mountains. They're hiking, they're skiing, they're snowboarding, they're exploring the mountains. Whereas in Edmonton, because you're still 3.5, 4 hours away from the mountains, on the weekends, a lot of people stick around. They're taking in the hockey game or they're taking in that festival. And Edmonton is known as Festival City. So there's tons of festivals and events going on all year round.
Wait a minute!
I'm a goofy goober! You're a goofy goober!
Fringe festivals, folk festivals, Heritage Days, Ukrainian festivals. And Edmonton, I think because of the University of Alberta, it does have a much more diverse and busier arts and theater and live music scene. Now, even though some might argue that Edmonton is a little more culturally diverse, and again, this is just a matter of opinion and perspective, Calgary, however, is a more diverse city. So when it comes to the amount of ethnicities that exist within the city, Calgary definitely has more than Edmonton. It's actually ranked as the third most diverse city in the country. But either way, we're splitting hairs here. You can't go wrong with either city. Both cities have fantastic people and fantastic culture. And you know what? Before we go any farther, I just realized that we didn't really talk about the location of each city. I'm sure you guys know exactly where both cities are, but just for the sake of it, we'll throw up some B-roll here. Calgary is the southernmost city, and I consider it the gateway to the south. Edmonton is 3 hours farther north on Highway 2, and I consider Edmonton to be the gateway to the north.
The king in the north! The king in the north!
So hopefully you saw some map animations there showing you exactly where both cities are. But let's move on to the next one. Let's talk about the real estate market and the economy of both cities. Now let's start off by saying that compared to the other major cities in Canada, Edmonton and Calgary are the most affordable markets in the country. Calgary is definitely the most expensive market in Alberta, followed by Edmonton. Calgary kind of leads the way in both growth and decline in the economy, as well as the real estate market. Edmonton tends to lag about 6 to 12 months behind Calgary. Investors kind of like this about Edmonton because they're able to kind of get a snapshot of what's going to happen in Edmonton based on what's been happening in Calgary. The real estate market in Alberta has really corrected itself since 2021. So far in 2022, it's been a super hot market. It's been nuttier than squirrel turds down in Calgary, with crazy bidding wars and homes selling way over asking price.
Mess not with the furry tail clan, defenders of the good, crusaders of the righteous, guardians of the pine.
Edmonton has also had some record months, and it's been a crazy market up there as well. And I know a lot of people think that it's not going to last very long with interest rates going up, but I don't agree with that at all. We are just getting back to pre-pandemic levels of 2014. So I think that the Alberta real estate market in Edmonton and Calgary have a long ways to go and a lot of runway ahead of them. Now let's take a look at the economies of both cities. Edmonton is a more blue-collar city, 100%. Calgary is absolutely more white-collar. Calgary has some of the largest concentration of corporate head offices in the country within its downtown. It's more of an oil city, but it 100% is diversifying its economy. So the tech sector in Alberta has been taking off over the last couple of years. We are finally a player on the map, and Calgary is leading the way in that industry in Alberta. Now, in my opinion, Edmonton does have a more diverse economy than Calgary. It is a blue-collar city, but it has the government sector there. It's our capital city. It's where the legislative assembly is, manufacturing, research, trades, all those different kind of industries. And Edmonton was actually ranked the most diverse economy, or has the most diverse economy of all the major cities in Canada. So depending on what industry you want to work in or what type of job you're looking for, hopefully this information can give you a little bit more education on where you might want to consider living. Okay, let's get down to a hot topic. Let's talk about the weather. You read online and you'll hear that Calgary is significantly warmer than Edmonton. It is warmer than Edmonton throughout the winter. Not by much, just by a few degrees. Like we're talking 2, 3, 4 degrees maybe. Where you do get the benefits and the breaks in the wintertime is because of the Chinooks in Calgary. So you can go to bed and it can be minus 25, and you can wake up, it can be plus 5. So it is a nice break in the cold Alberta winters. You know, when you've had a cold stretch of minus 30 or minus 35 or even below minus 25 and that Chinook rolls in, it can be a nice break.
I'm freezing my nuts off!
Damn.
Most of the wintertime in Alberta ranges from minus 5 to about minus 20.
Why is it getting so cold?
Now, I personally love Chinooks. I think they're awesome. It's a nice break. A lot of people don't like them though. It's super, super windy on those days. So a lot of the times you're just staying inside anyways. It really thaws, that freeze and thaw cycle with the ice. It can really ice up the roads. And if you do struggle with migraines and headaches, you can really struggle with those massive temperature changes and pressure changes with the Chinook winds in Calgary. Now, yes, Edmonton may be on average, like I said, a few degrees colder during the winter. Once that winter sets in, it's kind of there to stay. You're not going to get Chinooks up in Edmonton, or not very often anyways. However, in Edmonton, you are going to get a warmer summer. Summers are warmer up in Edmonton. You're going to get a longer growing season, and it's a little bit less windy there as well. So people ask me this question all the time. They want to move to a milder climate. That's a lot of the time, that's a big reason why people choose Calgary over Edmonton, because it is slightly milder. And I just say slightly because people think that in Calgary you're not going to get the cold Alberta winters. You're still getting minus 30 down there, minus 40. There's times during the winter time where Calgary is actually colder than Edmonton. So just understand that Calgary still does get the very cold winters as well. You might get an extra week before the snow falls, and during the springtime, that snow might melt a little bit earlier. You do get the benefits of the Chinooks, but it absolutely still is cold in Calgary also. All right, let's talk about parks and nature. I get asked this question a lot also. You think that this one would be pretty straightforward, but it's not as simple as you might think it is. Now, Calgary is a beautiful city. It 100% is a very scenic, a very pretty city. It's nestled in the foothills. You have the mountains, mountain views out to the west. It's pretty tough to beat the beauty of Calgary. But Edmonton is super deceiving. When you first drive into the city, it kind of just feels like, a big blue collar city. But when you get closer to the downtown, Edmonton has an unbelievable river valley. It is the largest stretch of urban parkland in the country. I think it might be one of the biggest in North America. It has over 20 major parks and 160 kilometers worth of walking trails and multi-use trails. I used to live downtown Edmonton, and I spent a lot of the time, in the river valley running stairs and just walking, exploring. And I don't think I even touched 20% of it. However, those were my college days too, though. So I was more inclined to be out partying and didn't really care to explore nature as much. But Edmonton is a deceivingly beautiful city. Now, down in Calgary, they have some awesome parks within the city as well. Fish Creek Park, Beaumont, there's Nose Hill Park, which is pretty close to downtown. Now, I'm not a big fan of Nose Hill Park. I mean, it's great to have the ability to have those walking trails and stuff, pretty close to downtown. But in my opinion, it's pretty bland. It's pretty barren. So both cities have a lot going for them. Both are beautiful, beautiful cities. Calgary is absolutely a beautiful city, but don't let Edmonton deceive you. It has some cool things going on for it as well. But it is really tough to beat the mountains only being, an hour away, depending on where you're going. Look, I know a lot of you guys moving out here, you're sports fans. I get people reaching out to me all the time, talking to me about sports. I know a lot of you coming from Ontario, you're going to be Habs fans or you're going to be Leafs fans. God, I don't know how anybody can cheer for Montreal. Maple Leafs, it can kind of get a little bit, but I mean, geez, guys, come on. If you move here and you are a Habs fan, I might have to jersey and put the foil on.
What are you guys doing? Putting on the foil every game. Yeah, you want some?
Obviously, I'm just kidding, but we do have a great sports scene here in Alberta. We have the NHL and we have the CFL. The Oilers and the Flames are a huge rivalry here. Now, I've been an Oilers fan since I started watching hockey in the early 80s, back when the Gretzky, Curry, Messier, the Fuhr, the Moog days, back when Oilers were an absolute dynasty. Now we have McDavid to cheer for. Calgary, I don't know what they have to cheer for. Maybe you can cheer for Gaudreau a little bit. And we also have the CFL teams. So we have the Edmonton Eskimos and we have the Calgary Stampeders. So no matter which city you live in, depending on your preference, there is a lot of great sports teams to cheer for, and Alberta has you covered if you're a sports fan. So it really is a toss-up, guys. A lot of the decisions based on where people move to, whether it's Calgary or whether it's Edmonton, a lot of it stems around the weather, and a lot of it stems around the environment and the location of both cities. Calgary will have a slightly milder climate to it, a little bit warmer winters. Edmonton's going to have some warmer summers. Calgary does have the mountains right there, so really it's a super easy day trip if you want to head out to the mountains. You can make day trips if you're living in Edmonton as well to the mountains, but you're going to want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I think if you're heading out to the mountains from Edmonton, you're probably going to want to stay overnight, as it's 3.5 to 4 hour drive. Both cities have a ton of things to do. So down in Calgary, obviously you have the mountains, you have the zoo, you have Callaway Park, you have the TELUS Space and Science Center, or is it the Spark Center? I think it's called nowadays. Up in Edmonton, you have a lot of festivals, and there's Fort Edmonton, there's West Edmonton Mall. Both cities have a ton of fun things that you can do. And I know this is a bit of a cop-out, but both cities have similar but also different economies. So depending on what industry you want to work in, or what type of job you're thinking of getting if you don't have one before you move to Alberta, that might be an influence on your decision on which city you want to move to. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button, please. If not, that's okay. You don't have to hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button and definitely click that notification bell so you're notified every week when a new video comes out. And if you would like any help with your real estate needs, like I said before, we do have a team that covers the entire area. So use this information, guys. Get a hold of me anyway. You know how. Phone, text, email, doesn't matter. All right, I will see you guys next week. Cheers.